Imagine you've lived in a city your whole life. You know every street, every shortcut.
Mm-hmm.
Then one morning you wake up, and the city planners have completely rearranged it. The main highway now goes to the airport. Your street is a dead end. The whole map is wrong.
That's a terrifying thought for a morning commute, but it is a perfect analogy for what we're talking about today.
Exactly, because we're not talking about traffic. We're talking about the human GI tract after surgery has completely rewritten the anatomical map.
It's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
And it's why today's deep dive is so important. We're really digging into altered surgical anatomy.
And to guide us, we're drawing from a fantastic, really detailed breakdown on Dr. G.S. Roux' YouTube channel.
Yes, his work on this is just a masterclass, specifically looking at a distal gastrectomy with Roux-en-Y gastrojejunostomy.
Which is a massive mouthful.
It is.
But the real mission here, isn't just to understand the surgery. It's about a very high-stakes problem. How do you perform an ERCP on a patient who's had this done?
Exactly. An ERCP is already a tough procedure in a normal anatomy. You're trying to get into these tiny little ducts.
Right.
But after a Roux-en-Y, you're basically playing a video game on the hardest difficulty setting, with the map completely scrambled.
So let's set the scene. You're the doctor. A patient comes in, they need an ERCP, and you know they've had stomach surgery.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Roux' first point is that just knowing that and nothing more is a recipe for disaster.
Oh, absolutely. Stomach surgery is uselessly vague. You have to be a detective before you even pick up the scope. You need to know exactly what kind of architectural changes were made.
He mentions 3 main types, right?
Yes, the big 3 you'll probably encounter are a Billroth I, a Billroth II, and then the big one, the Roux-en-Y.
And these aren't just like minor tweaks. The difference between them completely changes your plan of attack.
Completely. A Billroth II, that's relatively straightforward. They've just reconnected the stomach to the duodenum. The path is more or less intact.
Okay.
Even a Billroth II is usually manageable. But a Roux-en-Y,
That's the boss fight.
that is the boss fight. It creates a whole new geometry, these specialized limbs. And if you don't understand that Y shape before you start, you are going to get hopelessly lost.
Which brings us to what Dr. Roux calls the crucial data point. You're looking at the surgical report. You see it's a Roux-en-Y. What's the one number you're searching for?
The length of the afferent limb. That is everything.
The afferent. Okay, we'll get into what that actually is, but why is the length the make or break number?
It's just a matter of physics. Your scope, your endoscope, only has so much length.
It's not an infinite cable.
Exactly. And the afferent limb is the tunnel you have to navigate to get to your target. So if the surgeon made that limb, say, 80 or 100 centimeters long,
You're going to run out of road before you even get close.
you'll run out of scope. And that's not even accounting for looping. The intestine stretches, it bends. So a 50-centimeter limb might take 80 centimeters of scope to get through.
So if you see that high number on the report, you know right away that going in through the mouth probably isn't going to work.
It's likely impossible. And that insight saves everyone a lot of time and saves the patient from a procedure that was doomed from the start.
Okay, so let's say the report looks good. The length is manageable. We need to actually build this thing in our minds. How do we get from a normal body to this Y shape?
All right, let's put on our surgeon hats. First step is the resection. It's a distal gastrectomy, so the surgeon removes the lower part of the stomach.
So the stomach's normal exit is just gone.
Gone. You're left with a smaller stomach pouch. Now, step 2, the surgeon goes down to the jejunum, the small intestine, and they just cut it all the way across.
So now you have a disconnected piece of intestine just floating there.
Pretty much. And here's where the magic happens. Step 3 is the gastrojejunostomy. They take the downstream end of that cut intestine and pull it all the way up and connect it to the stomach pouch.
Okay, so food now goes from the stomach pouch straight into this new intestinal path.
Correct. That's called the roux limb. It carries the food. But we have a problem. What about that other end of the intestine we left behind?
The one that's still connected to the duodenum, where all bile and digestive juices come from.
Exactly. That's the biliopancreatic limb. You can't just close that off.
Yeah.
So step 4, the jejunal anastomosis.
The second connection.
Right. They take that biliopancreatic limb and they attach it to the side of the roux limb, maybe 40 or 50 centimeters down from the stomach.
And there it is. There's your Y shape.
That's your Y. Food comes down one arm, the roux limb. Bile and enzymes come down the other arm, which we call the afferent limb. They meet at that junction and mix.
Dr. Roux also mentioned something about closures being a hazard. What did he mean by that?
Ah, yes. This is a huge trap. When surgeons staple these connections, especially side to side, you're often left with a little stapled off stump, a blind end.
So through the camera, That might look just like the tunnel you're supposed to go down.
It looks exactly like it. You see an opening, you push forward, and thud. You hit a wall. It's a dead end, a surgical cul-de-sac. And telling the difference is a real challenge.
Okay, let's do it. Let's take the journey. We're holding the scope. We're going in. What does this feel like?
Well, the esophagus is easy. Then you pop into the stomach pouch. And it's immediately disorienting. It's smaller. There's no pylorus to guide you. You're just hunting for the exit.
The gastrojejunectomy.
Right. Once you find that and go through, you're in the Roux limb. And this is where the fight really starts.
This is the food road.
The food road. But our target, the ampulla, is up the other road. So first you have to go down. And the small bowel is floppy. It's not fixed in place.
So when you push the scope forward, the whole thing just stretches out.
It just creates these huge loops. You push a foot of scope in, and the tip barely moves. It's a constant battle of pushing, pulling back, twisting, just to make forward progress.
He called it a long, circuitous route. That sounds like a very polite understatement.
It is. It's a maze. Finally, you get down to that critical intersection, the jejunal anastomosis, the split in the road.
The why? So you've got two holes in front of you. One goes further down, the other turns back up. How on earth do you know which is which?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
They both just look like intestine. The single best clue is looking for bile.
Ah, yeah.
You're looking for that yellowish-green fluid coming out of one of the openings. That's the afferent limb. That's the bile stream. You have to turn into the current, so to speak.
Like a salmon swimming upstream.
Perfect analogy. So you see the bile, and you have to make this incredibly sharp, acute angled turn.
Which sounds nearly impossible when you've already got all the scope looped up inside.
It's extremely difficult.
Yeah.
But let's say you make the turn. Now you're in the afferent limb, traveling upstream, still fighting loops, and hopefully, you finally see the ampulla.
The target. But it's all upside down, right? You're coming at it from below.
Completely upside down and at a weird angle.
Yeah.
So all your normal muscle memory for how to cannulate it, how to get the catheter in, it's all backwards.
It requires a totally different mindset.
It really does. And this is why Dr. Raju's practical advice is so key. A decent amount of time.
Which feels like the understatement of the century.
Don't book this case before lunch. You have to be patient. If you get aggressive, if you push too hard against a loop, you can cause a perforation. The risk is very real.
Okay, but let's talk about that moment of defeat. You've done everything right. You navigated the maze. You made the turn. But the scope is just maxed out. You can't go any further.
The afferent limb was just too long. It happens. You physically cannot bridge the gap.
The patient is on the table. The problem still needs to be fixed. What's plan B?
Well, you have a couple of escape hatches. The first one is to pick up the phone and call your colleagues in interventional radiology.
The IR team, how did they get there?
They don't use the gut at all. They go percutaneous.
Through the skin?
Yep. They use an ultrasound on the outside of the body, find the dilated bile ducts in the liver, and stick a needle straight in, through the skin, between the ribs, right into the liver.
So they just bypass the entire surgical maze?
They completely bypass it. They could put a drain in, relieve the pressure. It's very effective.
But Dr. Raju mentioned a newer, more almost sci-fi option involving endoscopic ultrasound or EUS.
Right. This is the really cool modern approach. Think about the geography again. The stomach pouch might be surgically disconnected, but it's still sitting right next to the liver inside the body.
They're still neighbors. They just don't have a door between them anymore.
Precisely. So with an EUS scope, which has an ultrasound on the tip, you go into the stomach pouch. You look through the stomach wall with the ultrasound.
And you can see the bile ducts in the liver right on the other side.
Millimeters away. And if you can see it,
you can stick a needle in it.
You can stick a needle in it. You puncture from the stomach directly into a bile duct inside the liver. And you can place a stent that creates a brand new connection.
You're creating a wormhole, a shortcut from the liver straight to the stomach.
It's essentially what you're doing. A procedure called a hepaticogastrostomy. It completely bypasses the entire Roux-en-Y anatomy.
That is just incredibly clever. Instead of this long, winding journey, you just punch a new door in the wall.
It is, but it requires an incredible amount of skill. But it just shows how our tools are evolving to deal with these altered anatomies. We can make our own maps now.
It really reframes the whole idea of anatomy, doesn't it? It's less of a fixed map and more like a plumbing system that we can reroute and hack to keep it working.
That's a great way to think about it. The ultimate goal is the same. Fix the problem, restore the flow. The path you take to get there might just be one nobody had ever thought of before.
So, to sum it all up, the mission starts with the surgical report. You have to know the type of surgery, and you have to find that afferent limb length.
And you have to have that 3D model in your head. Expect the loops, look for the bile, and be ready for that hairpin turn.
And most importantly, know when the road is just too long. Know when to pivot to Plan B or Plan C with IR or EUS.
Knowing when to stop is just as critical as knowing how to keep going.
This has been just a fascinating deep dive. And again, a huge credit for these insights has to go to Dr. G.S. Raju's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
His breakdown of the surgical and procedural steps was just invaluable for this.
Absolutely. His work is a tremendous resource for anyone in this field.
It really leaves you with a final thought about how medicine adapts. We change the human body with surgery, and then our tools and techniques have to evolve in response, creating these incredible new shortcuts.
Makes you wonder what the standard anatomy will even look like in 50 years.
That is a topic for another day. For now, thanks for navigating this with us.
My pleasure.